Welcome, everyone, to another Power Podcast brought to you by Chief. Today, we are with two co-founders from UnlimitIT. They are extremely passionate in the field of service management. Welcome, Dewald, Plessis, and Chris Visagie.
Morning, Dennis. Thank you very much for having us. We're really looking forward to share our views on enterprise service management.
Excellent. I've taken some time to look at your website, and in it you make an interesting statement that you have a deep belief that service management is the cornerstone of digital transformation. Now, our audience have seen the thumbnail, they've seen your title of this podcast, whether it be on LinkedIn or any of the other channels. Why should they hang around and listen to you?
Yes, thank you, Dennis. So I'm going to make it short and sweet. It's really the only mechanism that organizations have got to get their supporting structures aligned with our customers' expectations.
Chris, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for Dennis, and good morning, everybody, and Dennis. At the core of our belief is we believe, enabling organizations to reach their unlimited digital potential. Organizations, there is a global shift into digitization of operations, and we believe service management is a core enabler of achieving that, your organizational goals using enterprise service management.
You've made service management your passion. Share with our audience some of the current trends that you are picking up in the marketplace, in the clients that you're serving, and the broader industry.
Dennis, so I think first and foremost, when we look at efficiencies, automation, 100%, taking advantage of AI, and the peripheral opportunities that it brings.
Yeah, and as well, if I can maybe add, integration has become critical. We are in an interconnected world. Making sure that the data that we utilize as part of these platforms are contextual, our relatable people understand and use the same type of data throughout the business has become critical to achieve operations. And integration, by pure nature of its being, has become critical, but still organizations do struggle to get that right.
So on point, the executives and senior folk that I talk to are very concerned about the efficiency play, the utility of the implementation of software of this nature, of practices and processes of this nature. And when you talk to the CIOs, integration becomes key for them just because of the significant tech debt in their world, and just bringing something else on top adds more complexity. Yet there's a significant drive in business in terms of an ask of the IT professional to help with increased automation purely because of an efficiency play. So on point. I'm looking forward to us getting into the chat a little bit deeper. And with that being said, folk want all these nice things, yet at the same time, they are keen on personalization. They are keen that it is not just a cookie cutter, one size fits all. And when you talk to business unit A, they are not comfortable with what business unit B is signing up for. Yet it might be centrally managed through a central IT department. Chris, could you share with us a little bit around personalization and how we can improve customer experience in service management?
Well, thanks, Dennis, for that question. Yeah. So if you talk about personalization, personalization is all about making the system or the platform relevant to our customers, our employees, and making sure that they feel comfortable in that environment, interacting with it in a day-to-day fashion. It boils down to a lot of things that that can play a role. Something as simple as branding, colors, making it familiar to the people interacting with the system. To the point of language, right? Interacting with the person in the language that they prefer, making sure that we've got the dialect right, the nuances of that language right. So all of these play in making it comfortable for that person to interact with the system, making them want to interact with the system. And AI plays a role there as well, potentially. But it is important that we set that experience to our community as simple as possible and as understandable as possible, so that we want that interaction with the end user community. A simple case of that would be, a new employee joining an organization. A lot of organizations forget about that person, depending on the type of service they receive. It creates a perception of what's happening inside the organization, and that person can either become a champion, or maybe this was not the right place for me. And this then becomes reflected in the way that they engage internally as well as externally to their customers. So yes, personalization is of critical importance to making the experience relevant to the person, whether it's an internal customer, whether it's external customer interacting with us.
Absolutely right. I certainly experienced that as an end user, and certainly as super users operating, utilizing the system. When one is able to offer them a degree of control over their environment, I would imagine adoption is a lot easier. Dewald, if I could shift it slightly, talking to the CIO, the word integration comes to mind, and this could potentially be a barrier. Where would you look at integration for the organization?
Yes, so Dennis, there's two aspects which one need to consider just quickly. So one, integration kind of brings a lot of efficiencies, and it can affect your bottom line significantly. But really, as an executive, as a manager, line manager, really what we're trying to create with integrations is a single pane of glass where you can see, listen, how ready is my organization to deliver to my customer? And for that, you need to integrate do your integration into your core systems that actually is driving your delivery or your production, which your end user consume. So integrating to core systems would be key. You want to know, listen, if, for example, if you're in mining or manufacturing, a very annoying thing is stock not be able to leave your plant. Stupid thing like a weighbridge not working because a printer is down. You need to understand, get to grips with a single pane of glass. How ready is your organization to deliver to your customer?
I wonder if there isn't a flip side to this, though. And forgive me playing the devil's advocate. Chris, maybe you can comment on this. Integration has its own challenges. Systems integrators don't come cheap. And the time taken to get an integration to work very well could have its own inherent risks. Could you share with us some of the benefits of integrating service management with other business processes and systems in the organization? Make an argument for us.
Well, that's a good question. So if we break automation or integration down to two components, because inherently there are two sides to this coin. The one side is, for integration, is we want the data from a core system or from an operational system to do something with. And the other one is to actually do something, to execute something via automation. Most organizations, at the core of it, the use of data becomes important for integration. And if you look at systems, the generic rule of thumb for systems, and it's an old rule, still remains relevant in this area, is junk in, junk out. So if we are just going to push junk in to a system, we will get junk out. So we want to make sure that we go to the source of quality data, good data. HR systems. Typically, a HR system will carry, all of the relevant information of good quality of an employee as well as potential of our customers. So we need to go to the core or to the source of that data so that when we utilize this in a service management practice, we make sure that that data is of good quality and is usable. This can create a situation that, the net effect of that would be that business and IT start talking the same language. And this creates insights, as Dewald has previously said, into what is happening in our operational environment. Because now we are providing context to what is happening in operations, whether it's business operations or IT operations, it does not matter. And it creates a relationship between IT and business. That's the data component. The orchestration component is that we go and do something new to facilitate efficiency. Right? Simple use case would be, go and move this person from this user role to this user role, or go reset the password. And this is where we start, when we've got that good quality data with integration from an orchestration point of view, this is where we can start driving efficiencies and making sure we are doing the right things in our operations environment.
Quite often folk would want to get some early wins, some runs on the board. Where do they find these automation candidates? Who'd like to pick up on that?
Yes, Dennis, I'll pick it up. So first of all, certain industries lend themselves towards certain immediate low-hanging fruit with regards to automation and integration. In general, if you look at the security and access perspective, especially linked to risk and governance and audit, that would be key. You need to have a single source of record keeping, so that would be key. Health and safety in manufacturing, it actually there's a lot of automation that goes hand in hand with your HR processes. Scheduled maintenance, maybe some of our state-owned entities can leverage some of that, all the way down to accounts payable, infrastructure and application monitoring. These just a few to mention, which typically is a good point of departure.
Are some more prone to be accepted than others? Are there parts of the organization that you found that get put on the back burner, yet there is focus on other areas more easily? What has your experience been?
So something areas which kind of get put on the back burner, and I kind of keep on to go back to ready organization to deliver on our customers' requirements or products or services, is around the employee side. HR is badly overlooked. For example, the costs associated, especially very large organizations, onboarding people, sitting around not hitting the road running. For example, the automated processes involved how to onboard someone, ensuring that they've got the right level of access, security, they've accepted all the confidentiality agreements, all those type of stuff to ensure that someone is ready to actually work. And then, obviously support them within the ongoing process to be able to function and do their work.
So right, Dewald. If we look at the income statement of most large organizations, 60 to 70% of the cost base of that income statement is in the people space. Yet the HR investment tends to be quite low. Josh Burson talks about the significant investment, and if you look at the Gartner research that has just come out, that this HR piece, the employee experience piece, is now consuming 60% of CIO's time. So there's a real opportunity over there without a doubt. I would imagine, Chris, folk talk about emerging technologies quite often, and they want to ping you for insights. They want to ping you for guidance. They want to drive efficiencies. The world is awash with significant amounts of technology. What are your thoughts on that? What sort of guidance can you offer us, or pearls can you share with us around emerging technologies?
That's a great question. As well as you cannot ignore the impact or the potential impact if you listen to the likes of Mo Godward from Google X, these guys of generative AI. If you look at organized, vendors or OEMs that support service management practices, most of them currently talking about generative AI. What does it mean realistically for an organization? What's the point? So in my mind, generative AI is about how do we interact with the system? How do we drive that personalization? How do we support our customers or our users in understanding what it is? A simple thing would be, having the ability to interact in your language of choice with the system and have the system automatically translate that to someone else's language. Now, if we talk about, global organizations, a guy in Spain might talk Spanish, and then a guy in France speaks French, right? So they don't want to talk the different languages, but the system will then automatically translate that and create that personalization for them. Creating that situation of real-time translations. Another simple example would be at its core, automated support or automated request management, right? Where we've got a virtual agent that's available 24/7 that interacts with our customers or employees and gives them guidance on what they need to do next, or providing them that's a collaborative, systematic environment to drive the experience. And this creates a culture. If you look at where we are today, the normal business work hours is not relevant anymore. Some organizations, as long as you get the right output, doesn't matter how you achieve it. So we will have people that require something, at 10 o'clock at night. Typically, our supporting environment is not available. So how do we make sure that person is productive? A simple example that came up with one of our customers recently was a guy wanted to have a piece of software installed on his machine. Now, realistically, if we talk traditional service management, that would resolve in a service request and some technician going out, or maybe phoning the guy and say, "Can I remote desktop onto your machine and go and install it to you?" Now, the impact of that is there's a delay in that experience and that expectation. What would be the impact of that guy if, for example, if he asks a virtual agent, "I want a piece of software installed," let's say Microsoft Project or something like that. By the time that he says thank you to the virtual agent, that piece of software is installed on his machine. That changes the game. And if we talk about efficiencies, this guy might be in a critical meeting at some place, and having that data there immediately and the means to interact with that data, utilizing the right software, creates an environment, that makes that guy in front of his customer, look like a rock star. And that then boils back to the organization.
So I would imagine that this requires some practices in automation that are different, or a better way of looking at things. This automation being the holy grail of digital transformation these days. Can you share with us some of these better practices?
So, yes, Dennis, the problem that we have seen when we talk about automation and integrations is organizations see that holy grail. They think it's a magic bullet, and so they go for gold. The problem is when you go for gold, the process is potentially not understood. It is a complex process, and people, they don't get it right immediately, so they start to look at other things, and they get it's like getting stuck. What we have seen works really well is if we start small with environments that are well understood, the process is structured, it's repeatable, and we can measure that activity. The measurement is important because as part of that, we want to make sure that we show value back to the organization. And how do we show quantifiable value? So that is important so that we can start gaining momentum. And as we go through the iterations of, starting from small, going a bit bigger, we start maximizing our use of resources, technical and systematic and human beings. This reduces errors, creates efficiencies, and creates a focused area of a service-driven culture. And this allows and the first thing when we talk about automation is, I'm going to lose my job. What people forget is, I'm losing the boring, the mundane part of my job, because the system can do that 24/7, which frees a human being up to start thinking more innovatively, thinking of how can we do things differently, how can we change things, and have a core focus on the business. Your core business is to sell something, not to run a system. So shift that focus. That creates definitely a good practice of efficiency.
I love it. I love it. With this, Dewald, I would imagine you are constantly being asked for agility in business. There's what's good today is not necessarily not good in service management tomorrow. How do we help businesses adapt to the changing requirements with changing service management practices? Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So part of the answer lies within the question itself, and if organizations, and it's aligning your customers' expectation with your business strategy. It's about creating this ongoing service culture, ensuring that we, on an ongoing basis, we include the larger organization in new ideas, how to do things, and something we've mentioned in our previous pod as well, around theming strategy. Your strategy should kind of support what you're taking to market, what your customers want, and kind of draw that back closer to your business, create a theme on that strategy, create this culture of ongoing and have a dynamic, changing service delivery environment.
If you haven't clicked on the earlier podcast, I invite our audience to do so. Very, very, very interesting content shared over there. Chris, I wonder if you can give us a 50,000-foot view in your mind's eye, looking forward 5 years from now. What do you see coming down the line?
Yeah, that's an interesting conversation, and if you look, like Dewald and I, we're fairly technical. We like to see what's going out there. We follow, if you look, generative AI, the impact of AI, the potential impact of AI. What does that look like? What does that mean to people us as a human race? That is an interesting question, and the smart people like Mo and Elon Musk and those guys also having a lot of conversations of what does that look like. I do see a definitive impact on our service management environment, on the way that we interact daily with customers as well as our colleagues. And it can go both ways, either positive or negative, depending on who you want to listen to.
Got you 100%. What can folk look forward to in the next part of our series?
So, Dennis, with all of these topics we have discussed, it sounds good. It looks good on presentations, and in a conversation like this, it always sounds good and something that oh, that's interesting. We need to look at that. But the proof is always difficult, it's always difficult to prove it or to demonstrate the real value. And to make these topics real, in one of our next podcasts, we will chat with Charles Hubert from the University of Pretoria, and he will share some of his learnings of how the university approached the notion of personalization and integration and automation to drive efficiencies at the university, and what that looks like. What are the pitfalls, and some of the learnings of what I saw, and what does the real value potentially look like?
Chris, thank you. It's always a good idea to bring the customer into the room and really get that on the ground experience. That case study is always beneficial to our audience. I look forward to unpacking that in the next Chief podcast with yourselves. If our audience want to get hold of you, how do they find you guys?
Dennis, thanks. You guys can get hold of us on LinkedIn. We're very active on LinkedIn. A fair amount of thought leadership been going on for past few months. And visit our website as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Hugely topical discussion, very interesting. And to the UnlimitIT team, we really appreciate the work that you're doing in industry and educating ourselves. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.